Hello students, a very good morning to all. So in the last video we discussed about how de Broglie matter waves, the idea of de Broglie's matter waves and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle led to the failure of Bohr atomic model. So the next model which came after that, which was proposed by Erwin Schrödinger and which is acceptable till date, was the wave mechanical model of atom, or we can say quantum mechanical model of atom. So it was in 1926 when Erwin Schrödinger gave this hypothetical treatment for the electron. He proposed a model based upon the probability of electron, based upon the equation. He devised an equation for finding the probability of electron around the nucleus. Till that time, so far, equation for light waves and sound waves were known, but equation for matter waves was getting proposed for the first time, and it was Schrödinger. It was Schrödinger who proposed this equation for the very first time. It was based upon the concept of probability, as exact location is always undetermined. So it was based upon the concept of probability of finding an electron around the nucleus, and he considered that electron is present around the nucleus in a three-dimensional space. Unlike Bohr, he considered planar orbits around the nucleus where electrons were present, and the circular orbits which were considered by Bohr were fixed. But here, according to Erwin Schrödinger, electron is present in the region around the nucleus in an atom, which is a three-dimensional space without any boundary. He gave the equation for the probability of finding an electron around the nucleus in a three-dimensional space. So the Schrödinger wave equation for a single electron moving in a three-dimensional space around the nucleus is written as this. Here you will see many symbols. This mirror image of 6 is called as curly. It means here we have taken second derivative of psi. This is a Greek letter psi. This represents the wave function. This is a wave function which represents the amplitude of electron wave in the, and he tried to find the amplitude of electron around the nucleus in three-dimensional space, and x, y, z are the three space coordinates. H is Planck's constant, m is again mass of the electron, E is the total energy, V is the potential energy, and psi is again the amplitude of the wave. Here you must be wondering that what this means, the second derivative, what it means. The non-medical students must be aware about this, but for the medical students, this about the differentiation and integration part you will be doing in your very first unit of your physical chemistry part, where you will be taught in detail about the integration and differentiation methods of mathematics, which will be used in the chemistry after this, after your +2. So for now you can understand it in a way that it is a second derivative equation where curly, this symbol is curly, which represents partial derivative. Partial derivative, by partial derivative we mean that we are taking differentiation of psi with respect to x, and rest of the variables are considered constant on which psi depends. Here, as we know that psi depends upon the three variables x, y, and z in the three-dimensional space, but here we are taking derivative with respect to just x. So it is taken as constant with respect to other variables for this term. So that is why we are representing it as partial derivative. Partial derivative is represented by the mirror image of 6, while complete differential is represented by d, small d. If it would have been the complete differential, then it must be written here as d square by dx square, but it is curly square by curly x square. Here mirror image of 6 is curly. The first part of this equation, that is curly by curly x square psi plus curly by curly y square psi plus curly by curly z square psi, can also be written as del square psi. This inverted triangle is called as del square. It represents the second derivative of psi, which is the wave function. Second order differential partial differentiation of psi, which is the wave function, and this term is the same as written above. So this is del square psi. Now we'll know how Schrodinger reached this equation, how he derived this equation. Schrodinger assumed electron to be present around the nucleus is exhibiting continuous wave-like motion, and the waves he considered them as stationary waves, which we already considered the wave where Bohr also assumed the motion of electron as waves, where he explained, sorry, not Bohr, but where de Broglie explains the motion of electron around the nucleus. He considered the motion of electron in the form of a wave, and if the wave is in phase, then that was considered as standing wave. The same consideration was taken by Schrodinger, that electron moves in the form of stationary waves around the nucleus, where psi is the amplitude of that wave. Here he related the stationary wave to the equation of, or to the wave of a vibrating string fixed between 2 points. 2 points he took, that A and B. Here this is a vibrating string which is exhibiting a wave-like motion, and the wave is in phase. Such case of string have the general equation where amplitude is given by A sine 2 pi x by lambda. Here A is any constant, sine we already know, this is a mathematical operator. Angle is 2 pi x by lambda. X is the distance and lambda is the wavelength. So if we take first derivative of psi, here we are writing it as d psi by dx. It's not curly, it's d, because we are taking complete derivative. This equation is taken in one dimension, that is we are considering this motion in single direction, that is x direction. So we are taking here complete derivative of psi. So psi is this, and when we take complete derivative of this, first derivative of any for the product of any two things is given by, if A is constant, it will come out as it is first derivative of sine bx will be b cos bx. So it will be multiplied by A and the solution will be ab cos bx. Here b stands for 2 pi by lambda, x is same. So dy dx comes out to be a 2 pi by lambda cos 2 pi x by lambda, and further if we take derivative further, it will become the second derivative. We are taking the second derivative of this. It gives us, for cos, if we take the derivative, it gives us the solution as minus b sin x, minus b sin bx. So here the solution for double derivatives comes out to be minus 4 pi square by lambda square multiplied by a sine 2 pi x by lambda. Here we are getting psi again. This is the value of psi which we took earlier this is the value of psi from where we started. So double derivative of psi gives us this constant and the psi again. When such kind of equations are generated, this means this is an eigenvalue equation, and when some operator, this is called as an operator, is operated upon psi, and we get some constant, and the psi itself. That means this is an eigenvalue for this equation, and psi is an eigenfunction. And both these are the eigenfunction and eigenvalue for this operator. This is the operator. The operator is actually represented by, operator equation is actually represented by this a psi is equal to, where capital A is an operator which is getting operated on this wave function, and when we operate it on this wave function, we get small a as solution, which is some constant multiplied by the psi itself. We are getting psi multiplied by some constant. Here a will be called as its eigenvalue and psi is the eigenfunction of this operator. Here lambda can be replaced with h upon mv according to de Broglie's equation. So we put lambda square as h square by mv square. Next, what we are doing is, as electron is also a particle, so total energy E in the equation can be written as kinetic energy plus potential energy, and kinetic energy is given by half mv square. From here, if we take out the value of v square from here and we put it here, then v square from here comes out to be 2e minus b by m, and we put the value of v here and we get this value. So this is a term similar. This similar term was there in the Schrodinger wave equation taken by the Schrodinger for 3 dimension. But here this equation we have derived for 1 dimension only. If we expand this equation to other directions, that is for y, we get 2 similar equations, but the variable will be y and z. If we combine these equations in all the for the 3-dimensional space, then we'll get Schrodinger wave equation. So this was the derivation for Schrodinger wave equation. This is a basic equation for wave mechanical model of atom. It considers the electron to be present in 3-dimensional space, not in planar orbits as suggested by Bohr. This we have already discussed. Next, we have solutions of Schrodinger wave equation. Like all the differential equations, as it was the double differential equation, this equation also has many solutions. So by solution, we mean that many values of psi can be there. But Schrodinger further put conditions on the values of psi, that only those values of psi will be acceptable which will meet the following conditions. He put some conditions for the values of psi. Let us have a look at those conditions. According to him, only those solutions will be acceptable which meet the following conditions. Those solutions are called as eigenfunctions. Those solutions will be called as eigenfunctions, and corresponding values of E which we'll get from there will be called as eigenvalue. Eigenfunction and eigenvalue we have already discussed. So conditions on psi were, psi must be single value. That means it has single value at one point in 3-dimensional space. It cannot have multiple values. The value must be finite. The value of psi cannot be infinite. So it must always be finite. At infinity, when x is infinity, it should become 0. Psi must be continuous. By this we mean that if we move in one direction or in the 3-dimensional space, there must be continuity in the values of psi. That psi must be continuous. It cannot be discontinuous. Next is psi must be normalized. The condition of normalization we'll be discussing later, that what we mean by normalization. Actually, it is the probability of finding an electron taken over whole space. It involves the integration thing. Integration is just the reverse of differentiation. The details about the differentiation and integration you will be doing in your first unit of physical chemistry. This is especially for non-medical students. Non-medical students must be aware about these terms. So from here we'll get that psi represents the orbitals. We'll come to this later. Now we come to the, now we try to apply Schrodinger wave equation to hydrogen atom. As firstly, Schrodinger also applied his equation, proposed his equation for single electron species, and the most simple single electron species in its neutral form is hydrogen atom. So for hydrogen, Z is equal to 1 and potential energy is equal to minus E square by R. We'll put both these values and the equation becomes this. From there, he derived the values of energy and radius of first orbit of electron, and he found the same values as proposed by Bohr. So model of Bohr didn't totally fail, but many calculations done by him were same as taken by Schrodinger for his equation. He also proposed the radius of the first orbit to be 0.53 angstrom, and radius was given by this formula. The derivation for the radius and energy is not in your syllabus based upon the Schrodinger wave equation. I have already discussed the derivation of the formula for these two things based upon the Bohr atomic model. You can memorize that. That is more simpler in comparison to the method used by Schrodinger for the derivation of these formulas. Now we come to significance of psi. What do we mean by psi? Schrodinger wave equation, as we all know, is a second order partial differential equation where psi represents amplitude. This we already discussed, that psi represents the amplitude of that wave in which the electron is moving, which defines the motion of electron around the nucleus in a three-dimensional space. As electron behaves like light, so for light, intensity of light is directly proportional to the square of amplitude of wave. So on the similar terms, we can say that square of psi square would give us intensity of electron in the three-dimensional space. That means probability density it will give us, probability of finding electron in the three-dimensional space. So from here we can say that more the value of psi square, more is the probability of finding an electron around the nucleus in that particular three-dimensional space. So as discussed, solutions of psi can be any. There are multiple solutions of psi, but probability is going to be always positive. As probability is represented by psi square, so if psi can have any value, whether it can be positive, negative, or any imaginary number, because square of all these terms is a real number. And we are interested in the value of psi square, not psi, because we need probability of finding electron in the three-dimensional space, which will be given by psi square. Here psi square, as it is probability, should always be real and positive. Let us consider some imaginary psi. Say we have a plus iota b as imaginary. It is imaginary number because it involves iota in it. Iota is a numerical number represented by under root of -1. Square of iota gives the value of square of iota is -1. So for imaginary numbers, psi square is represented by the product of the psi itself and its conjugate. By conjugate we mean if psi is a plus iota b, then the value of its conjugate is going to be a minus iota b, where a and b are some constants. So this is the product of the psi and its conjugate. It is equal to psi square. So from here we get the value to be equal to a square plus b square, as iota into iota is -1. So both the terms will cancel out each other. So psi into psi multiplied by its conjugate is going to be always real. Now let us come to the conditions imposed by the Schrodinger on the psi, that it should be normalized. So let us see what normalization is. Here psi is representing amplitude, psi square is probability density. If we take small volume element in three-dimensional space and we integrate psi square, which represents the probability of finding electron in that particular small volume and we integrate it from minus infinity to plus infinity, we'll get the value of psi square. Now, this integration solution should be equal to 1. If this solution is equal to 1, then that means our psi is normalized. Let us equate this to 1, and as we already know that we have taken psi square is proportional to the probability. Not this doesn't give us the exact value of probability, but it is giving us that psi square is proportional to probability of electrons. So there must be some constant which is multiplied by psi. So let us write n psi into n psi star. Conjugate doesn't affect any constant, so n square will come out of the integration. Constant values have nothing to do with the integration or differentiation. They are taken out of the system whenever they are in the wave function. So here we can easily calculate the value of n square as psi square, integration of psi square integrated over the whole space is definitely going to be 1 based upon if psi is the solution of Schrodinger wave equation. From here, value of n can be calculated. If we know this, then n can be calculated. That is, proportionality constant can be easily known. Next is the condition of orthogonality. This is not a condition. This is a condition on two different solutions of Schrodinger wave equation. Say psi 1 and psi 2 are two acceptable solutions of Schrodinger wave equation, then the condition on two different solutions is that they must be orthogonal to each other. Now by orthogonal we mean that one solution is not dependent upon the other, that is, they are independent of each other. So if they are independent of each other, they must satisfy this equation. This mathematical equation is again integration of psi multiplication of psi 1 with the conjugate of psi 2 integrated. Here we have taken small volume element dv, and integration is done from minus infinity to plus infinity. This term must be equal to 0. If this is satisfied, then we can say both these are the acceptable solution of Schrodinger wave equation. When both the normalization and orthogonality conditions are satisfied by two wave functions, then those two wave functions are called as orthonormal wave functions. So you can be given any two wave functions and you can be asked about that. Check for the orthonormality condition, check for the orthogonality condition, and check for the normalization condition. And also you can be asked about that, find the normalization constant for these two, for this wave function, this particular wave function. You will be given the value of wave function and you will have to take the conjugate and the wave function itself. You will have to integrate it over the whole space and equate it to 1 for the normalization condition, and for orthogonality condition you will have to take the equation like this. Next we come to the concept of atomic orbitals. Erwin Schrödinger established a totally new concept that could explain most of the phenomenon which led to the failure of Bohr atomic model. Now all the problems were solved. This new approach of Schrödinger wave equation, Schrödinger was the wave mechanics. He considered electron to be present in a three-dimensional space around the nucleus where probability of finding the electron was maximum. This space, he called this space as orbitals. These are not having any boundaries. So he called this three-dimensional space around the nucleus where probability of finding the electron is maximum as orbitals. Next we come to the concept of quantum numbers. About the quantum numbers we'll be discussing in the next video. So that is it for this video. about the numericals which I mentioned in the last video, I'll be sharing an separate video for the numerical part for the both the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, de Broglie's relationship, and this quantum mechanics, which we discussed just now in this video. So I'll be uploading a separate video for this. So that is it for this day. Thank you so much and all the best.